get started.
Sir,
Leather seat.
enciende. Tiene asientos de cuero.
Push to start.
Oh, that's good.
Probably got navigation.
Navigation.
Yeah, all this stuff. Yeah, looks good.
Miren, está bonito por dentro. No tiene ningún daño quebrado por dentro ni nada. Se ve bien. Wow, miren, señores. Miren, eso es todo lo que se...
Squeezed in the Hyundai Elantra GT, and there's a lot more wrong with this than I thought. I thought it was going to be like a really quick fix, replace the bumper, replace the fender and all that stuff, but yeah, there's a lot more going on. So let me show you here. This whole fender side right here, the apron, all of this has to be replaced, and the way it comes, this whole assembly is one piece. And I think it's probably better that I replace it like that instead of cutting out a little section. I think it's best just, you know, to do the whole thing. Also because it's kinked back here. So the accident was here, and then it kinked in the back. So it really doesn't look that bad on the main section here, but when you look under it, yeah, it's a lot worse. The big issue here, guys, is not actually the body, it's the engine. When I started this up in Copart, you know, it ran and it had a tick on the engine. These engines are actually notorious for being bad, with a really bad piston slap. You can have the engines replaced up to 120,000 miles, which this is under 120,000 miles, but obviously I'm not the original owner. So if you're the second owner or more, they're only going to cover it up to 88,000 miles, which is beyond, this car is beyond 88,000 miles. So I might be screwed on this. You know, I do believe that everything is repairable, but not everything is financially worth it, obviously. So I'm already in this project thousands of dollars, you know, just to buy it, and it appears that I'm just gonna have to get my money out of it and repair it. You know, it sucks. I was gonna take out the engine anyways just to repair the body, but now I'm gonna have to repair the engine itself. And you know, so that's probably gonna be another $2,000 for this Hyundai. Absolutely ridiculous. You can see the radiator's intact, the air conditioning's intact. A lot of it on the front end is in good condition. The radiator support was bad. It got hit on the side right here. That's about a $300 part because it's more unique. If it was just the Elantra, these are more common and they're cheaper. Well, guys, it took me a while, and this engine is ready to come out. And this wasn't really meant to be an instructional video, but just want to tell you really quick how I'm doing it. The transmission and the drive shafts are all going to stay inside. The air conditioning is just hanging there, and I haven't evacuated it or anything. There's a lot of bolts going around the transmission, of course, and everything has been separated. The only thing I'm having issues with is the crank sensor. So I'm going to jack it up. I'm going to bring the engine up a little bit and try to pull that out. it's still not right. And so if you're trying to move stuff, let's say, just reposition it and put it where it was, then it's a pretty good mechanism. But when you're looking at deformed metal, such as what I have, I just don't think it's going to pass inspection. You can't get this piece separate. You can't get the apron separate. All of this is one piece. And so it's going to look really nice when it's done, but I just didn't want to, do all the extra work and stuff. And I know it looks pretty bad, but I'm basically just cutting it one section at a time. There's so many layers here. There's the strut tower right here, and there's the cowl, which comes across. It goes under, and then there's the hood hinge support right here. That goes over that, and then the part that we're trying to replace is actually under here. It's under this bracket right here, under the hood hinge bracket. Woo! This is just a rough fit right now, just kind of seeing how everything goes together. And I just realized that the motor mounts are not there, so we're gonna have to buy that. So with a little finesse, you can see everything is just sliding right in. But yeah, not bad for a day's work. Okay guys, we're gonna get those parts on order, and I'm gonna get cleaned up. I'm a total mess, but yeah, I'm gonna go eat. And we'll see you guys when we get those parts. Talk to you later. Well guys, I screwed up and I cut off too much. So what I thought came with the new part does not. And in order to replace what I cut off, I'd have to spend another $1,000. The motor mounts do not come with the fender apron assembly. And they were in the way basically, and I just got rid of them. So I'm kind of hoping I can repair it if I hammer it, weld it, grind it. Well guys, this is why I don't work on cars very much. It's frustrating to me, and I never said I was a professional. I'm just basically I bought this car and I didn't realize it had so much damage, but I'm tired of throwing away money at cars, so I wanted to fix it myself. And so now I'm just wasting my time. But I'm gonna get this thing together. Okay, I'm gonna straighten out those parts, and it'll be all right. It's break time. I went to a junkyard and I found one that was wrecked, but the parts that I need were still available. So they gave me all of this for 200 bucks. So yeah, it's kind of expensive, but it is what it is. I have some good parts now. I believe this is on Amazon. So this is weld through primer, and you always want to sand your your metal, and then right before welding it, you want to cover it with weld-through primer. I have to apologize, but I didn't get any of this recorded. I welded the strut tower to the car, and almost instantly a fire broke out inside the car, ruining my key module and setting me back months and hundreds of dollars. Electronically, this was a great car. Everything worked. It has a push button start, and everything was great there, but now it's all uncertain. On top of the welding and the frame repairs, of course, as you know, I have engine repairs, and now I have major electrical issues. Hey guys, I'm going to show you guys the full extent of the fire. So let me turn around this camera. Alright, check out the air box right here. A big old melted area. So it looks like it's still sealed. Maybe not, I don't know. But I'm going to leave it. Maybe I'll put in some plastic bonder down there or something, but overall it looks like the airflow hasn't been restricted. There might be some smell, you know, when we turn on the heater or air conditioner, I'm not sure. Okay, this whole area was on fire, and the windshield is ready to come out almost. But I believe I repaired all the wires over here. Some of the wires I cut and replaced. Some of the wires I just, coated it with like a plastic coating, and then some of them are actually okay. So, but overall, I kept the wire harness. And then over here, where the key module was, or the fob module, most of these connectors were damaged, and I replaced all those. I was really lucky to find a module with the actual connectors on eBay. So what they did was, instead of disconnecting the connectors, they just cut it, and then they sent the whole thing on eBay. So that was really cool for me. So I soldered in all new ones. There's no crimp connectors here. Everything's soldered. I tried to use heat shrink whenever I could. I ran out of the good stuff, and I used a bigger size. It's not ideal. None of this is ideal. This wire harness is like $2,000. But I think right now everything is ready to be connected. I'm going to try it. Hopefully there's no more smoke. We'll see what happens, guys. So all these are okay. All the ones in the corner there are okay. And real quick, I'm going to show you guys the dash. And there's some more damage over there. Here is the underside of the dash. Most of it is okay. It's reusable, and on the top it really looks fine. However, underneath it, you can see this damage right here. So this car is already a salvage. It's gonna, in the end, it's gonna look okay. I understand the windshield is all broken and everything. I did that. It's replaceable. It's okay. So we already have, the bumper, the fender, all this stuff is going to get replaced. Overall, it's going to look fine. So I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars on this. I'm not going to get a new dash pad or anything like that. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to seal this up the best I can. I'm going to cut a little bit of this off, clean it up, and just use like some flex tape or something. I know that sounds bad. This piece right here, the vent, I think it was like $200, and I'm just not willing to spend any more money on this. So, and it's just for a vent, guys. So, you know, just get rid of all this, you know, weak stuff and just seal it right here the best best I can. Now, I want everything to work on this car, but there's no way I can remove the history. And anybody who buys this car knows that they're going to buy it just because it's a good engine. I'm rebuilding the engine. Everything on it is going to work. It's going to ride down the road. It's going to drive just fine. Hey guys, I probably look different every time you see me. I got my glasses on and I just wear these when I'm driving. But I wanted to talk to you about this engine. I got tired of recording and I just couldn't record it all. That car project, or this car project that I'm driving right now, it was going on, you know, for about a year actually. So I took the engine out. It had piston slap, which is very typical for that 1.8 liter of that time frame, of that generation of Hyundai and Kia cars. And I had it rebuilt, but when I took it to the local engine rebuilder, he didn't really know what to do with it. In one engine, you can have 4 different pistons. In one, you can have 4 different piston rings, 4 different pin sizes for the piston, 4 different bearings on each cylinder on the crank. They measure the bore, and then they hand select a piston based on the bore size of that engine. Each bore could be different and could have a different piston size. Main bearings, what they'll do is they'll measure the pin, and then they'll measure the bore size, and then they'll select an appropriate bearing for the difference between the 2 measurements. And each bearing could be different from one another. And this totally threw off the engine rebuilder. He was just used to, you know, rebuilding, you know, Chevy 350s or, you know, whatever, 400 cubic inch monsters. And so while he had the capability to rebuild it, he just didn't really believe what he saw. To me, if you have more measurements and you have to hand select anything, to me you're just going to have more human error and more ways of having a failed engine. So, but it is what it is. We eventually got good pistons, good rings, new bearings all throughout this engine, and now it's working. So if you ever have this engine, I don't know what to tell you. You might want to consider just buying the entire block from the dealer. That way it's fast. Or going out and buying a used engine. After I got the engine block back, I had a lot of issues. I went through 3 different head gaskets because the bolt holes for the head were full of metal. And I cleaned them. I cleaned up the threads and everything, but I didn't realize that there was metal like jam-packed on the bottom. And when I was torquing it down, the bolts just didn't feel right. You know, it was like, you know, crunching, not crunching, but it was like, it would torque and then it would give out, torque and give out. And, you know, I didn't really know what was going on. I suspected I was hitting the bottom. And then I bought a tap and I welded an extension onto the tap just to make it go all the way down because I couldn't find a tap of that size. Unfortunately, I didn't weld it very well, and the weld broke and I got the tap stuck down in the block. And when I tried to get it out, like, nobody would help me. No machinist wanted to get the tap out of the block. They all said that the tap was a harder metal than their drill bits. I ended up taking the head off again. I suppose I could have used the head gasket one more time, but you know, I really wanted to be good, solid engine. So I got another head gasket. I got all new bolts again because they are torqued to yield. And so you can see this is getting really expensive. But the way I got the tap out was I had to take off the head, and then the tap was just below the surface of the block, about 1/4 of an inch, and I couldn't grab it, but I could tell it was pretty loose. So I did the old-fashioned trick of welding a nut to the top of the tap, And I also put a copper sleeve around it so I would protect the block. And it started coming out, and finally everything was smooth sailing from there. I cleaned the bottom of the bolt holes, and there was a lot more junk on the bottom. All right, this was my problem hole right here. I already got a bunch of metal out previously, so let's see what's down there now. With the tap that I just bought, it was still a little rough on the bottom. Look at that. My goodness. I'm gonna clean it out, and I'll use the tap again, and then I'll rotate the block upside down and squirt it with more penetrating oil down here, and just continue to clean and clean. But yeah, that hole is definitely my problem hole. I'm using this red pick to get to the bottom of the hole, and I learned that the holes are actually concaved in the middle, which means that the pick can actually go farther than my magnet. So what I'm trying to do is get all the remnants loose with the pick, and then I'll go in there with my magnet and get everything out. So you can see here on my finger, still quite a bit of metal sitting on the bottom. Not all manufacturers specify how to clean or prepare a block for assembly, but I believe industry-wide what they want are the threads clean. No oil, no anti-seize or anything like that on the thread. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to clean everything, no residue, no anything, and then we'll start the reassembly. Hey, she's looking pretty good, guys. Within about an hour, this is where we are. I got the intake on, a couple of hoses. Of course, the head is torqued down. I'm starting to find some of my parts, like the timing and everything. That's all on there. I do have the exhaust manifold here, and I saw that it was rusted. So this bracket was bent over, and then when I tried to bend it back, it started breaking off right here. So I think I'll break out my welder and just fix that up a little bit, and maybe replace that. It looks like a heat shield or something. But I think the next part of the rebuild is to have the top part of the head, which has the cams, and it's located over there. So I haven't done anything to that. It hasn't been rebuilt or anything. It's just been separated from the head. So I'm going to get that, clean it, and we'll go from there. I have my cam followers, what do you call it, rocker arms or whatever they are. And here they are here. I got 16 new ones. It probably wasn't necessary, but I really wanted to do a good job with this engine. So what the heck, I just spent like 300 bucks. And in case you guys don't know, I've never seen this kind of engine, there are also tappets. I got 16 new tappets, and they just slide in like this. Let me get a close up here. They can be cleaned. I think you can pull out the top part and then you can clean them. I guess they squirt oil up on the rocker follower. And this is the cam follower, and I just slathered it up with my gloves and everything. I got oil everywhere. And then there's a little clip right there. And then it just snaps right on top. Sorry about the lighting. Snap it in place, and it's going to stay kind of loose until you get the cam on there. But that's it. So all of this is ready now. I got 16 new tappets, 16 new cam followers, and now we're ready for the top part of the head, which is over there, sort of like the head of the head. I believe my cam assembly is ready to install. I cleaned up all the surfaces here, and I went all around and cleaned everything the best I could. On second thought, guys, I can't torque down this head of the head before installing the cams, because the bolts which secure this are also for the cam caps. And so I just got to do it all at the same time. I'm going to try to make sure everything's in the correct position, basically get ready for the timing chain. And I don't want to bolt this down and then have one of the valves hit a piston. So I'm going to try to align everything, put it in at the same time, and we'll see how it goes. For timing, here's where we are. There's some lines here on the sprockets, and those have to be in line with each other. And as we come over here, you can actually see a little diagram on the case, and it has to be the crankshaft has to be about, what is that, like the 1 o'clock position or so. The smaller 10 millimeter bolts on this engine require 120 inch-pounds, and the larger one requires 190 inch-pounds. So the timing for this engine is set up with these orange dots here, and you see the orange dot, and you have orange chain link, orange dot, orange chain link. Originally they wanted me to set this up with these two lines directly in line with each other, but there was so much tension or spring tension on the valves that I couldn't get those in line without it springing. So I just did something a little different. I put vice grips on the cams, and I just kind of did the best I could with the current crankshaft position. So I tried to align that, but of course that wasn't perfect either. And so I just aligned the cams with the crankshaft in whatever position it was in. So okay, so orange dots, orange chain links, and then if you come down here, you also have an orange chain link, and there's a dot right here on the crankshaft, and everything is aligned. So now all we have to do, guys, is release the chain tensioner pin here. So it's kind of like a grenade, right? So all right, let's do it. There it is. Timing is set. I did get this valve cover from eBay, but I believe it's a stock item. Everything appears to be fitting exactly as it should, except for the engine mount studs. So you can see these are pretty big, and these are my original studs. They're just not going in. And I don't know, what is that, 2.5 inches or so? And these are a lot smaller over here. So I'm going to transfer these studs over to the new cover, and we should be in business. But that's a perfect example of why you should always keep your old parts until you're absolutely sure you don't need them anymore. Look at this mess, guys. Woo-wee. All right, but anyway, here is the engine, guys. It's been a couple weeks, and so here's the valve cover. It's on there. The timing chain cover. I got some pulleys on there. The alternator, the belt tensioner is on over here, and check out my my header. I guess they're, you know, those are stock headers, but I guess they're still headers. And I went ahead and sprayed them with this VHT flame-proof exhaust manifold. This is ceramic coating paint, I guess. So I got this one on Amazon. I think it was like $20 or something, but it's actually cheaper from AutoZone. It came out pretty nice. Not really the same color as the cap, except like if you touch it, then it does become the same color as the cap. So, but anyways, I kind of like this brighter orange more than the polished orange. I might touch that up a little bit too. But yeah, it definitely looks nice. There's actually a heat shield that goes over that, but it was looking pretty bad. And I did weld this bracket right here because it was pretty weak. The last thing I need to do here is get my lift ready, and we'll lift this up, and then I have to torque on the bolts down here for the adapter plate, and it's ready to go in, guys. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. And it looks sharp at this point because you got the orange, and you got the blue, and you got the shiny metal over here. Everything looks pretty new except for the alternator. So right on, guys. Well, let's get this thing going. Well, I didn't see this coming, guys, but I have to take off the bumper cover in order to get the engine in because there's too much stuff up here in the way. Here comes attempt number 2 for the engine install. I took off the bumper cover and the bumper, and that gave me about a foot of room, and I'm hoping that's enough for the reach of the engine hoist. Here I am, guys, with my 2013 Elantra GT, and it's been an absolute disaster. It's just been one thing after another. I really thought it'd be like a quick flip, but it's been 2 years. Of course, there's always some bumps in the road, but the engine is in, and I didn't get it started right away because at first I had to deal with the electrical problems or the key issues on the inside of the car. So this actually looks a lot better, but the dash was not in yesterday. So I just put this in, and it's starting to look a little bit better, but I don't have everything quite in yet. They're actually going to replace this windshield because it doesn't fit right. See, this thing is sticking way up. So I have a new windshield, and they're supposed to be coming tomorrow. But when they do that, I'm gonna click in the little security light harness into the bottom because I really can't get to it right now. So once they take out the windshield, I'll put that in, no problems. So that's what I'm waiting on for that. But all this was a complete disaster, guys. And if you can imagine, the fire extinguisher powder was absolutely everywhere. There was smoke. Couldn't even see out the windshield. The windshield was broken. The glass was falling into the dash, on the seats. The car was just an absolute wreck, guys. The engine wasn't even in it. So I did have a little bit of help from the car because the car was telling me to put your foot on the brake when starting the car. So even though I had my foot on the brake, it was still telling me put your foot on the brake. So I had to find where that signal was coming from and where it was going to, and what was wrong. So I eventually found that I had 2 wires that were switched. I had 2 orange wires that were switched and 2 green wires that were switched. So even though I switched the wires and I fixed it, it was still going bad, and I didn't really know what was going on. So eventually it led to this thing right here. So I think what happened was when I blew up the wires and I switched the wires, I also took out, or I ruined this parking switch right here. So when you put it in park, this little tiny switch right here, it gets activated, and you can hear it right here. So let's see if I can find the old one. Here's the old one. It just doesn't make any noise, and I probably burned it up. So I found these on Amazon. I actually got 20 of them for $10. So 50-cent switch, and they don't sell it separate, but this is like a $500 assembly, even used. I think it's about $1,500 brand new. But I was able to fix it with a 50-cent switch, so that's pretty cool. In the meantime, what I did was I just cut the wires right here and I twisted them. That gave me a short, and it told the computer that I was in park. And then it was like 11 o'clock at night. I was out here working on the car. I twisted those parking wires, and then finally I started up the car. Boom, blah, 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 blah. And it shook the entire neighborhood, right? And my wife, she's asleep upstairs. She can hear it, and I instantly turned off the car. I didn't want to wake anybody up, but I was like inside, I was like, yeah. It had been 2 years, guys, since I heard this car start or run or do anything. And to hear it start and to go through all that problems, okay? Frame damage, engine damage, electrical damage. Finally, to hear it start was just so relieving. So now here we are, guys. The car is just about complete. We're gonna paint it. I probably have to get new tires. We got a different windshield coming because this one doesn't fit very well. The cowl still has to be installed. The dash has to be installed all the way. and the radio and all the buttons and all that stuff. Based on my thoughts right now, this is probably going to be my car for a little while. So I have some really nice cars. I have a 2021 Seltos, a 2021 Sonata SEL, very nice car. I have a 2021 Honda Civic, and all these are very nice. But I'm kind of thinking I want to drive this Elantra GT. Why not, right? I mean, leather seats, everything, right? Panoramic sunroof, all that stuff. So I'm gonna give it a shot. I just hope the engine builder, rebuilder, really knew what he was doing.
What? I'm really liking that.
Yeah?
Well, you know what? I'll let you be the judge of that.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, look at that. I mean, that looks like it's supposed to belong there.